Hi, welcome to Nourishing Body and Soul, the podcast. Get ready to revitalize your mind, body, and soul. We're here to inspire women who are looking to break free from old patterns and ideas to create a life of increased confidence and improved health. Say goodbye to limiting beliefs and hello to new possibilities. So kick back, get ready to have some fun, and let's dive in. We'll uncover tools and insights that can help you build a life that's truly nourishing, body and soul. Hi, I'm Tracy.
And I'm Victoria.
And welcome to the podcast. We're happy that you're with us. So today we are going to be talking about a principle of intuitive eating. We'll be doing that probably once a month. But understand this is like a 30,000 foot view. We do not have time to really get into this. You can have
The intuitive eating based on.
right. Intuitive eating book.
Can they see that?
I don't know. Can you see that? The lighting.
Well, yeah.
Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Tribole and Elaine Rush. This is like a basis for a lot of things. So I want to just start with reading. I'm going to read a couple of things out here today, but just want to start with reading basically kind of like why intuitive eating and what's the end goal here. So listen and see if you think this sounds like where you want to be.
Cute new glasses.
Thank you. I got my contacts and I can't read. That's not what they're for. So
I'll settle back.
when we're really practice, not like we have arrived as an intuitive eater, it's a process, but when we're really solidly there and that's where we are, this is what it looks like. You're going to trust your body's intuitive abilities, no guilt about food or food choices, feel good about your relationship with food, and treasure the pleasure that eating now gives you. You'll discard unsatisfying eating situations and unappealing foods. Want to experience eating in the most optimal of conditions. When emotions become too overwhelming, you'll find that you would much rather deal with your emotions or distract yourself occasionally from them with anything other than food. Eating style has become a source of pleasure, experiencing nutrition and movement in a different way. The burden of exercise is removed and it becomes an enticing thing. You're committed to exercise in a way to feel better physically and mentally. Likewise, nutrition no longer is a mechanism to make you feel bad, but becomes a path to feeling as physically good and healthy as you can. Your weight will settle into a natural place for you. You'll maintain it with no effort. You'll be rid of the emotional ups and downs that accompany the restriction of overeating and restriction cycles. You'll be empowered and protected from outside forces telling you what and how much to eat, and you'll feel free from the burden of dieting. You don't believe this is possible?
I don't believe that's possible at all.
Promise.
If it is possible, it is on a cloud somewhere, hanging out with a bunch of angels and the Loch Ness Monster, and Sasquatch and Yeti, and they're all having a party there with these people who are feel like that about intuitive eating. Yeah. I'm so far from almost all of those.
Yeah, it's closer than you think. It is. There's a lot of unraveling to do, and part of it is habits that have to be unraveled. But most of it is a mental game.
I think our bodies and dieting and weight, it's all a mental game. I mean, like losing weight in a separate place, but mentally, like trying to figure out our bodies, it's all a mental thing.
So it's unravelable. It's unravelable. There we go.
Unravel it?
Yes, we can unravel it. So promise.
All right.
Promise.
Okay.
So the first principle, there are 10, and it's not like you do this and then this and then this and then this. Like this is the place to start, principle 1. But then the other ones, it's just kind of like, you're going to be coming and going in and out, and some of them are going to be easier and some of them are going to be harder, and it's just a process. And that's part of the thing too that I love about it. It's like, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but like with when we're dieting, there's a success and a failure. you know?
Yes.
That's not how it is with intuitive eating. It's a learning process. It's just, and then, and when you're dieting, if you slip off of what you're supposed to be eating, forget it. Just forget it. I blew it anyway. I'm just gonna eat whatever I want this weekend and I'll start again Monday. That kind of thinking is not part of intuitive eating, because if we eat in a way that, the other day, I don't remember what happened, where I was, but anyway, I overate, and I don't usually overeat to the point of discomfort. I was just not paying attention, and I ate to where I was uncomfortable. It's like, man, I should not have had. And it wasn't like I ate a bunch of food, but my body, I guess, was just not like really.
You just
needing as
weren't
much.
paying
Yeah.
attention. Well, it's been the holidays.
And I was uncomfortable. And I thought, oh, normally before, with a dieting mentality, that kind of thing would set off why do we do this? I can't believe I did this again. And if I just had more self-control, if I just had more willpower, that all this if. But instead of that, after doing that, I thought, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm not liking how I feel. And I wonder what caused me to do that, because I haven't done this in a long time. And so I just, again, your science.
So did you figure out?
Get your science. Well, what it boiled down to was wasn't paying attention at all to what I was eating. I was just
mindless eating.
It's like I hadn't eaten in a while. And so when I sat down to eat, I just took portions that I thought, oh, that'll be a good amount. And instead of, as I was eating it, instead of going, oh, okay, do I need this much? It's just, I looked at it as this is how long it's been since I've eaten. This is how much I think should fill my stomach. And so I looked at it without listening to my body. I just looked at it intellectually and made the decision. And so I just ate that food. And so it was like, and there was part of it too, coming to think of it, because it'd been a while since I'd eaten. When it came time for dessert, instead I took like a normal portion of dessert, but I could have eaten probably a third of that, or just had a little taste of it and gone, oh, that's really good, which normally I would have done, and then gone, okay, oh, I'm done with this. But instead of doing that, it's like, I haven't eaten in a while, so I can eat this, and this will fill me up, and the dessert being part of it. And that's what really pushed it over the edge. It was like, okay, that's when it became too much food. And I wasn't listening to my body. I was just thinking intellectually.
Yes.
About, this is what a portion size is, and this is a decent amount of food for how long it's been since I've eaten. But anyway, instead of going off about that on myself, it's like, okay, put on the lab coat, oh, okay. And moving on, and then when I felt better. And until I felt better, I wasn't beating myself up at it all. There was no emotional and mental consequence, just a physical consequence.
Yeah.
So it's a process, and we just look at things as an educational experience instead of right and wrong and good and bad. And
we want the quick fix. We want the quick fix.
Yeah. Yes.
I am better.
Yes.
I am better. We have been talking about this for like 6 months now. So I am better than I was. I do recognize that this is a process. I do realize there's no beginning and there's no end. There's no like, let me start this diet and then
I have arrived.
Here's the
done,
end. Yeah.
Check.
And then all my life's gonna be happy. Like I do realize that's not even the goal. Like my goal weight, if I have one, has even changed to something that's reasonable. Instead of like, my goal weight isn't correlated to the size pants I want to fit in. So,
yeah. So it is possible to become an intuitive eater, but it does take unraveling, especially depending on how far into diet culture we have been indoctrinated.
Yeah. Let's talk define diet culture again for me.
Okay, that's a good question, because I was just watching
I feel like it's a catch-all phrase, and I think there's more to it.
Yeah, diet culture is not it's, to me, tied very closely with toxic beauty culture, which is, it becomes about appearance. It becomes about the number on the scale. When it comes to weight, it's sold to us as weight equals health. a lower weight equals health. And that while their weight can have some bearing on our health, it is not the be all end all that we have been pushed, that has been pushed. It's just not. And so it's so much more about appearance, and it's about getting really,
It's not about being healthy.
it's
Like healthy in your body or mentally and physically
and emotionally and
yes,
physically.
it's not about that.
Although part of it is pushing as though it is.
Yes.
They frame it as that. There are people who can take all the supplements and they're in a very good mental healthy place. But it's one of those, that's one of those things. It's like, oh, if I just take this supplement, if I just take that supplement, and we can easily get trapped in diet culture.
I just take this prescription pill.
Mentioning no Ozempic or Wegovy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was just looking at those the other day again and reminding myself of what the side effects of those are.
Oh, what are the side effects? Because I need a little memory, because I actually don't want it. Like if I was offered it, it was available to me and I didn't have to pay $1,000 a month, which I think is what people have to pay. I think that's what my sister has to pay if she does it. I don't think I would do it, but I don't know what the side effects.
It still sounds enticing.
It does. It sounds like
well, first of all, it's an injection, so you're gonna have to be injecting yourself, for however. And as far as they know, it's one of those drugs that once you get on, you cannot get off without. I mean, you get off it and you regain the weight that you've lost.
Really?
Yeah, as far as they know. But this Ozempic specifically, I'm not as current on Wegovy, but Ozempic specifically, it was not designed as a weight loss drug, and so they don't have studies to determine what comes down the road with this. They don't, but it's every indication is that it's just once you're on it, you have to stay on it, or the weight comes back. There's that, and then things that I'm like, they're touting it for weight loss. Some of the side effects are diarrhea, that causes weight loss. Vomiting, that causes weight loss. Nausea, well, you're going to be eating less if you're nauseous all the time.
Here's a pill and you can become bulimic. Well,
yeah.
yes.
So yeah, and those are and headaches and all kinds of fun things. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Ozempic.
Sorry,
today.
yeah,
we're back from the field trip.
Just saying, just saying that there's
It's
always like a if intuitive eating is possible, it feels more like you're buying a lottery ticket to get that. Like it feels like there's so many like shiny objects out there.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. But this too is like the diets that are like, oh, lose so many pounds on so many days. We can put up with that for a short period of time. That's why it feels so wonderful and so magical. That's why things like weight loss drugs feel so wonderful and so magical. But when we get
specific diets,
specific diets, they sound so wonderful and magical because they're promising the weight loss. When we get into intuitive eating, then it's like we realize that, I mean, you read that and you go, gosh, is it even possible to live like that? That sounds like too good to be true. Thank you, Dorothy.
Yeah,
we're not in Kansas anymore. But you get into it's like, this is not a quick fix. This is a process.
Yeah,
it's a process. And so even if we went into it with oh, it's bright and shiny, it doesn't take very long for that gleam to wear off, as far as, oh, I'm just going to do this and things going to get perfect.
Yeah,
it's just not that. But it is a place long term. It's a place that we can live. And with a lot more mental and physical and emotional health.
Yeah.
So the first principle is to reject diet mentality. And we've talked a lot about that, but today we want to talk about a little more about why and like get into that a little further and how to do that, because this is a big one. This is, to me, probably the hardest one. The other ones like take some skill when we have been not paying attention at all to our hunger and fullness cues. It can be tricky to kind of you recognize those again, but there's just skills, skills that we can develop. And But this one is just kind of like all the time, because it still remains coming at us all the time. The diet culture is not going away anytime soon.
No.
But, and so like, we'll constantly have that input, and we sort of get these tools in place where it's like, you can yammer all you want. I know who you are. I recognize you now, and you're not invited to my party.
Yeah.
So, but we have to keep telling it it's not invited to the party. Other ones, we can just develop the skill and kind of go on our own, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, so the diet mentality, some of the things that we fear if we stop dieting, are that if we stop dieting, we will just not stop eating.
Yes.
It's like, okay,
Yes, that is fair.
and the reality of that is that it's often the dieting that triggers the overeating, because it's that restriction, it's that mentality of, oh shoot, I blew it, so whatever.
Yeah.
I have no trust, I have in myself, I have no willpower, my body, whatever, I blew the diet, so now I just gotta forget today, forget tomorrow, I'm starting again Monday.
This is what I'm better at, is because that is totally me. Like, I'm just gonna eat it and I'll start my diet tomorrow, and I just won't weigh myself tomorrow, so I won't know what damage I've done today. But like, I am better at going, okay, do I want this? And why do I want it? And like, sometimes my why is still, it's not like super, it's kind of sketch, the why I want it. It's like, because I want it and I need sugar right now. But like, at least I'm having the question. There's a little dialogue first where I go, do I want this? Or is this just, and like the past little while has been better for me to go, I've been saying that, like, do I want this? Or am I just needing a dopamine hit? And this is something, this is kind of embarrassing, but I'll share it because this is exactly what happened. So I've been stressed. Well, of course, people are always stressed. So anyway, when I'm stressed, like really, really stressed, and I need comfort, I eat Reese's peanut butter cup cereal. Oh, not the peanuts, and it's like my favorite thing. And so I have been driving back and forth through things, and I'm like, I really want that. And so I go and I park in my driveway, and I think, no, I really want it. And I was like, okay, if you really want it, go get it. But like, no, like having a weird conversation, like I'm two people. But anyway,
no, that is mindset. That's mindset work.
And so I got out, I like didn't get out of my car. I went, and for the past 3 days, I'd been thinking that. But then I was like, no, I'm fine. And so this was last night, and I go down the block, and I didn't even leave our street. I went like 2 blocks, and I'm like, do I really want it? Or is this really just a dopamine hit? And do I want it enough to go to the grocery store and buy it? And then what? Am I going to just eat the whole entire box? Yes, because that's what I do if I buy it. And I just thought, I got pulled into this person's driveway, and I'm like, nope, I really don't. Like, I really don't think I do. And so I went back and I went home, and I didn't have it, and I was fine. But it was like that whole process of, I'm not getting out of my car, I'm gonna go, like, yeah. So anyway,
I mean, here's the difference though. When you decided not to have it, you didn't keep on with it. It wasn't the, I shouldn't,
No.
I shouldn't, so I'm not going to.
No.
And then you continue this whole
going
on inside.
It wasn't.
But I really want it, but you took the time and you went a ways toward the cereal.
Yeah.
But then you went, no, wait a minute. It's like, I mean, I've told my ho-ho story before, but it's that kind of thing. It's like, wait a minute. If I want a ho-ho, I know it's not a ho-ho I want. It's something else.
Yeah.
And this ho-ho might satisfy that for this long, but it's not gonna answer what I really want.
And I think before I had heard any of these, like, say we had not been doing this podcast and I didn't know any of it, there is no doubt in my mind, like 2 days ago, I would have gone and gotten Reese's peanut butter cups, and then I would have felt bad about it, and I would have gone the next day and gotten more. Like, I would have just bought, probably at this point, 3 boxes and eaten 3 boxes
until you satiated that need.
Yeah, and this need's not satiated. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And just felt sick inside. But like, I knew I didn't need that. Like, I think all of our discussions have helped. I'm like pretty entrenched in diet culture and numbers and
Yeah.
scale and all of that.
Yeah.
So, it's like chipping away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
but that's
I'm
progress.
just like the block.
Yeah.
Someday I might be a statue, but right now I'm just like a block. Like somebody's going. So anyway, that was a chip away moment.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's possible.
Yeah, it is. Another fear that we have is that if I'm not dieting, I don't know how to eat. What am I supposed to eat?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
and the reality of it is that we, instead of being told what to eat by some prescribed diet, we'll learn to listen to our inner signals. And there are times where, I mean, now for my breakfast, I have just like a short list of things. When it comes to breakfast, I'm not in the state of mind or wanting to take the time usually in the morning to have a variety of, I have these 25 different things I like to make for breakfast. It's like, nah, what do I want? And there are times where it's like, I'm feeling like I need protein, and so some kind of protein, and I need fruit. Or there are other mornings like, I just it's the carbs that I need to get me going. And so we start eating by inner cues instead of by, my diet says that this morning I get this and this and this and this much of this. We'll start learning to eat from inner cues. And then another fear is that I will be completely out of control. And that is, and that's because we've been trained so much to think that we have the trust in our bodies has been completely trained out of us.
Well, and here's the thing too, with that, like you can be dieting and then you have that day, like probably if you've been dieting, you all know how you've been really, really good for who knows, 6 days or a week or 2, and you've lost weight and you're feeling really good. And then all of a sudden, like that day, something happened, you have a fight with your significant other or your boss or whatever, and you're like, pretty soon you're in the ice cream shop, like eating ice cream sundaes or whatever, whatever it is like that. You have that out of control. That out of control eating happens while you're dieting too. It's not like if I said, okay, I'm going to stop dieting, like I wouldn't recognize, what an out of control looks like, because you eat out of control when you're dieting too, because you starve yourself for so long.
And that's where, again, the control, when we really learn how to eat intuitively, control is a non-issue. It's a complete non-issue, because we're not like, okay, this is what I must eat. This is what I must eat. This is what I must eat.
This is the time I can eat it.
Which is the other day.
I have 4 hours. Go.
The other day when I ate to the point of discomfort, it was because I was not listening to my inner cues, my body cues. I was thinking intellectually, which is diet kind of thinking. This is how long it's been since I've eaten, so this is the amount of food that it should take to fill me up. That is absolute diet thinking. It has nothing. I had nothing to do with the cues of my body, none. And so that was where I ran into that trouble the other day. And so it may sound really hard to believe, but control is it becomes a non-issue. It's because it's not about being an intuitive eater. Is not about controlling what we eat or when we eat. It's not about that.
It's listening to our bodies.
Right. It's learning to trust ourselves again. And I've said this before, that before I started this whole journey, I thought I trusted myself because I trusted myself in so many different areas of my life. Once I started into this and started peeling back these layers, it was like, I was floored by how little trust I had in myself in this area. And it was because there were so many, this is what diet culture does, is all these external cues and all these external cues instead of the internal cues.
Well, diet culture itself, we don't even get a chance to trust our bodies. We're reading, okay, what's this? What, okay, I can eat this amount of calories in these amount of hours, and, and I will need to look this way or that way, or this is the size I need to be.
And this is how much I should weigh.
Yeah. And none of that is like looking at yourself and going, okay, what do I need here?
Right.
So,
it's all coming from external
Yeah.
sources.
Mhm.
So we learn to not trust ourselves.
Yeah,
So,
we don't even have a chance.
yeah. Yeah. Another thing that can happen, and this might sound kind of strange, but if you've ever tried to not diet before, you might understand. It kind of leaves a diet void. If we're used to dieting, even if we're not constantly dieting, if we're an on and off a diet, on and off a diet kind of person,
Mhm.
there's this void.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I'm not dieting, what am I doing with myself?
Yeah.
And
I'm not thinking about food all the time. If I'm not,
Yeah.
planning my next meal in a compulsive way, you still have to plan meals, but still.
yeah,
What
Yeah.
I think this summer when I hit a different weight that I'd been at in a long time. And I was like, okay, this is where I need to maintain. Like I don't know how long it had been since I'd actually hit a weight where I was like, this weight makes me happy,
Mhm.
whether it did or not. But it was made society happy. So there you go. So I was there and I was like, okay, I don't need to lose any more weight. And I did. There was a huge void. I was like, well, then what do I do?
Mhm.
And then it made me wonder if all the diets I'd been on when I got into a weight, whatever, there's a reason why, like, if you look at a weight chart, it would go like this and this and this and then like there's no like this
Yeah.
and this,
Yeah.
So I tried.
Yeah. Yeah. So we feel that void. And one part of that void too is that when we are what we consider overweight, and we want to lose weight, and we think about going on a diet, and we think about what will be on the other side of that, there's this excitement, there's a sense of hope that,
Yeah.
okay, here I am, and there I'm going to be.
Mhm.
And when we take the diet away, then that particular brand of excitement and hope
Mhm.
goes with it.
Mhm.
And that's something that we don't want to let go of.
Yeah.
Which is understandable.
Yeah. So we need to find a different hope and a different
Right.
excitement.
Well, and really too, realizing too, and we'll talk about this in just a minute, some of the reality of it. It's like, it's false hope because diets don't work long-term.
Yeah.
Meaning that,
Mhm.
depending on which studies you look at, some of them upwards of 95% of people who lose weight on a diet
Mhm.
gain it back mostly within a year.
Mhm.
If they even get to the weight they wanted to get to,
Yeah.
they gain it back and plus more within a year, if not 3 years. And then
That's
if not
depressing.
that, 5 years.
So depressing.
Yeah, but we still keep.
Yeah. Well, and the
But
hope
this
too, I
time-
mean, we've kind of talked about this too, but the hope too is like when I lose the weight, these are the
Yeah.
things in my life that are going to be better. Like all of it. It's
Yeah.
all going to be better. My relationships, my romantic relationships or with your significant other or, your Tinder profile, who knows? But like, everything's going to be better. And it's weird because I have gotten down. I've gained and lost weight, and I've gotten down to a weight that, were my relationships in terms of like, we didn't have Tinder. I was never on Tinder, but like swipe right, swipe left. Yeah, was I swiped right on a lot more? Theoretically speaking, yes, I was. Did that make it better? Like, did that suddenly, me being skinny, did that suddenly make my relationship better? I was in a relationship because I had lost a lot of weight, and I was in a relationship, and I don't know, it's been about a few months, maybe like 6. And he decided he was going to go on the Atkins diet, and he like went full board, like he was not going to touch a carb, but he would make breakfast every day for me, and he would make bacon and eggs and pancakes or muffins, and he was making cookies and all these kind of things. He wasn't touching them, but he was like knew what my favorite things were, and he was planting them. And here I am, like just going along, doing my thing, eating the food that he is preparing for me until I start gaining weight. And at one point I said,
but you can also look at that before you go on, because I know where you're going with this. You can also go, oh, that's so kind of him.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That is exactly.
Cooks for me. Oh.
That is exactly what I thought.
And
that
then,
is exactly what I thought. And then I got on the scale one day and I was like, dude, I said, I'm gaining weight. And he's like, oh, good. And I'm like, because the stereotype is, your significant other is going to want you to be thin. And I was like, good. And he said, yes, I want you to be fat so that other men won't look at you. which is ridiculous because it's not like I'm pretty enough that other men were like looking at me. But no, for real, like I'm not walking around like, you know, I don't know, Margot Robbie, where men are looking at me. So I don't even know. That was like a useless thing for him to do. Anyway, yeah, so we broke up.
Yeah.
But like it was that.
That intention.
Yeah, like you think, okay, I'm thin now, and now I have a boyfriend, and it's gonna be perfect because this is the weight I am, because I gained weight and I was not as happy as this, and it wasn't. No, I don't think I had any relationship that was any better when I was skinnier than when I was not.
Because it doesn't address what the issues really are.
Mm-mm.
We just are told that it will.
Yes, my issues with the men are like, yeah, clearly not weight related. They're like, my picker is off. Oh, the worst. I have the worst luck. There's no doubt.
Oh, so another thing in that void is that there's a real social aspect of dieting. A real social aspect of dieting. And we think about the times where you have been talking about to somebody else about, oh yeah, this is the new thing that everybody's trying, and it's supposed to. Now it's Ozempic and Wegovy. This is what everybody's doing. And there's still other ones that, diets that are around aside from these diet pills, but it's like, there's this, how's it going for you?
Yeah.
And this also kind of a social cachet that if you're on a diet, people think, good for you. You're working on yourself.
And the thing is, this is a reinforcement of diet culture, if there ever was one. When you're losing weight, people will say, oh my gosh, you look so good. What are you doing? And then you tell them,
what I'm doing is having cancer. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Usually when I tell people like, oh, I'm working out and I'm eating less, they're like, oh, dang, but like there is that, and you get that positive reinforcement. And then once you get the weight that you decide is the end, your goal weight, that's fine. You still get positive reinforcement for a while. Then everybody noticed, like everybody's moved on, and they, that's the way you are. And there's that part is gone. And that's a big part too.
And when that happens, then the opposite,
yes,
when you start regaining weight.
Yes.
And hopefully you don't have people in your life who are rude enough to go, putting it back on, huh? But even if they don't say that out loud, they may be thinking it, but even if they're not thinking it, we are thinking that they're thinking it. And so we spend that time in self-judgment.
Yeah. And there's a lot of self-loathing for that, because you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to see these people that I haven't seen in a long time. And last time I saw them, I was super skinny and I was super cute. And now look at me. I'm like a whatever, job of the hat. And so you go out and you don't want to, because you don't want to, like there's a real,
how many?
and they're not probably even thinking horrible things, but
and even if they are, that's on them. It's really none of their business. But our fear of that. How many people have not gone to high school reunions because they didn't look the same as they did when they were in high school?
How many?
I don't weigh that weight anymore. It's been 40 years, but I don't we're expecting ourselves to weigh the same we did in high school. 40 years later.
How many people jogged the hills of San Francisco like at 10 o'clock at night to lose enough weight to go to their family, their high school reunions? I cannot tell you how much I dieted and exercised.
Yeah.
Before I went.
Yeah. And how many times do we get, we have to get down to not just a few little, but like, I need to drop 25 pounds before my wedding.
Yeah.
When we've been at this weight for years, and now we got to get 25 pounds down. What do you think is going to happen? And so we have these pictures, like I look like that on that day. No day before, no day after, but on that day. And so it's just a real trap to fall into. But so there's a social thing to it. And then there's also just this one last diet. I'm so sick of this whole up and down dieting thing. I'm serious, but I know that this diet, this one, this new one is different than the other ones. I haven't tried this before. This is going to be the last one. And I'm going to be real careful about which one I choose, but this is going to be it. I'm going to do it. And then I'm just going to be good. And we talk ourselves into this. This is going to be the last time I do this.
I think that one of the parts of diet culture that is important for us to reject, which is, I think, just tied into like what society has said, what you see in the magazines and whatever. Like you see perfect life at that size. And I think one of the not main, but one of the important things we do have to reject is this size and this size both have problems.
Yep.
And they're not that, like, those problems aren't going to go away, and they can be the exact same problems. That's the thing. So, you know, you still could feel, you know, insecure. You could still feel like all of those things, like, but once you reject that, like, I'm not going to look like the glossies of a, you know, Vogue magazine, then at least you can go, okay, so my weight isn't going to help. That's not the vehicle to get my problems in order. Like, what are the problems I need to get in order, mentally, physically, whatever it is, like, get those problems in order without knowing you don't need a diet to get them in order.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And if we do, I mean, even if we do, you know, go on a diet and have some sort of success, that, like you said, problems will still be there. And so we're not going to be happy. But that's why so many people, they get gastric bypass. They are physically altering their bodies, so they cannot take in as much nutrition, as much food as they did before. And so, they lose weight, but then such a percentage of people gain it back, even with their stomach that is so much smaller still, because that dropping of the weight did not address the issues.
So the goal,
so they're not happier.
So the goal is to try and be happier. That's the positive. The positive message here is the goal is to try and be happier and realize, disconnect the body size from what you can achieve. Because you don't have to be super skinny to get a promotion at work, and you don't have to be super skinny to be swiped right on Tinder. Like, you don't have to be super skinny for any of those things. You can have those things now. Just let your mind go there.
Oh, and we'll be talking about this coming up soon. A lot of this is what we feel like we deserve. When we feel like we're overweight, whether we feel like it's 5 pounds or 150, 200, whatever. And when we feel like we're overweight, what do we feel like we deserve? And in diet culture, we feel like that is a direct correlation to our worthiness. And there is nothing further from the truth. But you don't hear that. We don't hear that. So then we decide, okay, I'm sick of dieting. I'm just not going to go on a diet. Yay. But then we fall into this trap of pseudo-dieting, which is we may not have a structured, here's your menu, here's your workout routine, but we're still looking at food going, oh, that's a bad one, I shouldn't eat that. We still are using this diet thinking. We're still meticulously counting our macronutrients. Okay, and we need to have this much of this and this much of this. And so we still have these habits. We have these, okay, I'm just gonna only eat good. I'm only gonna eat clean. These are the foods that I'm allowing myself to eat. So we may not be on a specific diet, but we are still operating under diet mentality. And so that's also something that we want to be aware of. So what do we do about this? How do we go about rejecting this? That's the big, this is what we want to know. So the first thing, obviously, is we have to notice it. We have to recognize it, and we have to acknowledge the damage that it causes, because we're not going to want to go away from it if we don't think there's any problem with it. So the damage of, the biological and the health, there's biological and health, and there's also the psychological and emotional. So let me find, there's a couple of things that were good lists in here that I thought, so let me find those and just kind of touch on some of those. So biological and health damage from diet culture and diet thinking. Chronic dieting teaches the body to retain more fat when you start eating again, because our body goes into, when we're restricting, our body goes into it. Oh, crud.
This is so depressing.
We're in a famine here, and I got to start holding on to stuff because I don't know when I'm going to get more. And so it triggers our body into that kind of mode. And so when we do start eating, it holds on more. Chronic dieting slows the rate of weight loss because of that very same thing. It decreases our metabolism. This is a really fun list. Hang on. It increases our binges and our cravings because what is that face for?
I don't know, can I be
Yeah.
honest
Yeah, go.
about these things?
Yeah.
First of all, what it feels like to me
Mhm.
is the anti-diet, but still a diet. Like, here are the consequences of dieting, so don't diet. So it's like this weird, when I hear these lists of things, I think of and I think of shame. Oh, I've dieted and now I'm gaining weight and now I've caused my body to be more. So that's super shameful. And then I've whacked up then it all feels like this list feels like a list of diet. Of a diet that, like, if someone were to be super clever and go, here's the anti-diet. And they're like, why would you go on an anti-diet? This. Like, that's what that list looks like.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that because that diet mentality does that to us. They do that. And I have even done this myself. It is easy to take the principles of intuitive eating and make it our new diet.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
not, we have to, that's again, part of the recognizing. Okay. That is diet
Yeah.
mentality
Yeah.
talking.
Yes.
That's diet
But
mentality
like
talking.
hearing that is diet mentality. I mean, hearing that is like, let me figure out what shameful things that I can live in because I've dieted too much. All right, look what I've done. That's shame. I mean, that just feels like a list of reasons to be ashamed and live in that. That's what it feels like.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you brought that up.
I wasn't going to.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did because that's a real thing. I have a very dear daughter-in-law who, one of the things that I teach is that when we are raised in this culture, and even people who are like, the head of the blue zone stuff that's anyway, so many different places that are very health oriented. We'll talk about this, that in America, in this culture, if you are overweight, it is likely not your fault because of the culture we live in, because of what the standard diet is here. And so these things, these are real consequences, but these are not, this is your fault consequences. This is, it's the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And once we recognize the neighborhood, we can go, oh man, okay, this is the neighborhood I want
think we
out
all,
of.
I mean, if they're here, if people are here, I think we all recognize that. I think we've all heard those things and just like done it anyway, how to diet anyway, and then like right now I'm living with the idea that I probably whacked out my, my metabolism, or I've whacked out my, and it's those things too that adds to the shame that you feel when you've been dieting and you haven't, and it's the shame, like, that, but still you diet. And then when you don't, all of that happens and you feel that whole wave of shame again, like, yeah, look what I've done to my body by dieting yet again. How am I?
That's what we do. It is absolutely what we do.
Yeah.
But that's where when we let ourselves sit with that and don't try to go, no, I'm just not even going to face it. It's like, because really, these are the consequences physically and mentally and emotionally from repeated dieting and living in diet culture. But when we hold on and we really get into, okay, no, what I'm going to is intuitive eating, and we can't go from where we are to where we want to be without recognizing where we are first. And then also going, what, again, the mindset, it doesn't matter how I got here. At this point, it doesn't matter how I got here. The point is that I'm here.
Yeah.
And
if we can just we got to be positive with our bodies.
Yeah, we do. We do. But in order to get to the point where we want to reject diet mentality, diet culture, we have to recognize why. Why do we want to reject that? And these are the reasons why. So yeah, they're negative.
Because but the thing is that like, say you go to Weight Watchers, you hear all of those things. because they're like, hey, you need to be staying on a diet and you need to be thin. Here are the reasons. Or, you know, you go on any other diet or whatever. They'll say the reason you need to be on this diet is if you get off these diet now, here's the reasons that you have to be. I think it's hard to like, when you're already in a moment where you feel badly about yourself and you feel ashamed that you weren't able to keep the weight off like you were supposed to, to reject diet cultures, to go, all right, then like all of that stuff, there's nothing I can do about that. Like, there's nothing I can do about all the many diets I've been on and I haven't made it work. There's nothing I can do about all of those decreasing my metabolism or increasing my binges and cravings and all of, there's nothing I can do about that other than like go forward from here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Yes. Yes. But what we're talking about right now is if you're not sure that you need to reject diet mentality, why would you want to?
Yeah.
That's what this is getting past.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay. We're having a moment here. We're having a moment here.
I mean, everything you're saying is absolutely true. And that's where it's like, this is a perfect example of how completely whacked out diet culture is. Completely. And all the things that are wrapped up, that guilt and the shame are such a huge part of it. And no, that's where it's like, we were talking about earlier, it's like, it's a learning process.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, look at you. You did all this stuff and you already have these consequences. So that's the success failure. That's the good. Intuitive eating is not, it's the, okay, get on the lab coat. Okay, how have I done these things? How has it happened? Da, da, da. Okay, so this is where I am. Where do I want to be? And how do I get there? So this is just the first step in it, which is rejecting that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we gotta go, it's the turkey pan thing. Recognize that dieting can lead to eating disorders, no surprise there. Can cause stress. That kind of goes without saying.
I think our whole lives cause stress. We are born, that causes stress.
This is true. And so we already talked about the false hope and the cost of that. So these, why do we want to reject this? This is why. And then, so the second part of how to reject.
Wait, why we want to reject it is because there's a better life.
Yes.
There's a better life for us.
Yes.
We can have a healthier, mentally healthier, physically healthier, everything healthier life for us if we reject some of these things that we've been inundated with.
Yes, absolutely. And so then being aware of even diet culture thinking and traits, the dieting mentality that we talked about, thinking that it's about our willpower. If we just had more willpower. It's not about willpower. It's not. And I think I've mentioned this here before, and it's something I talk about often. It's like, think about your life. I can 100% guarantee that you can come up with examples, not from other people's lives, from your own life, of things where you have exhibited just Olympic strength willpower. It's not your willpower that's the problem. There's other things. And just forgetting the dieting structure creates this need to be obedient. Oh, we just hit something there.
I don't know. Maybe that's my problem with diets.
Well,
Like, I need to be obedient to something. So I have to be obedient to a diet. Maybe that's it. Because I'm sure as heck aren't obedient in any other way.
and then what it does,
Well,
too,
some
is
ways,
it sets up
not every way.
this rebellion. You know, because even if we wholeheartedly believe that what we're doing for ourselves is, this diet is a good thing for me. But then even if it's us telling ourselves, setting the rules for ourselves, we get this whole
There
is
is a feeling of morality. There is a feeling of morality when you're dieting. And like, there is a feeling of like, yes, like you're better on better on a spiritual plane almost, or better on a, I mean, spiritual plane's not probably
You're an
right.
elevated person.
Yes, you're on an elevate. Yes, because you are controlling.
You're doing the hard
You are
thing.
not out of control. You're not
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. And then your life can be like, psh,
Yeah.
but if you're on this diet and it's, you know, you're that part you're controlling,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
sometimes that's all we have to control.
We can, and that's where eating disorders really come in, is that it's the bottom line of so much with related to eating disorders. It's not about food, it's about control.
Yeah, yeah, that
So,
I can
yeah.
attest to.
And then, like we talked about earlier, those feelings of failure when we're, you know, oh, look, I've been so good, and or I was so bad.
Mhm.
And there's just intuitive eating. It's like, it's not the good, it's not the bad, it's the, okay, just looking at it as a whole.
Mhm.
This is our case study, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And another way to reject it, I don't know how you're gonna react to me, and I know we've talked about this before, but the scale, getting rid of the tools, getting rid of dieters' tools.
Well, it's not that I agree with you. Like, I haven't sat next to you this whole entire time to like not learn anything. I have learned that the scale is not an arbiter of my health,
Yes,
although it feels
and
like
actually
it.
it can be a contributor to really bad
I know.
mental
I
health.
wonder if I hadn't been getting on the scale these past little while, what that would have done to me mentally.
Yeah.
But I
And-
couldn't help it.
But it's a very hard habit to break, because
Mhm.
we have been so taught that it's a number we can see, it's something
Mhm.
that's so
Yeah.
tangible
How am I
that
doing?
is related to
Yeah.
us,
Mhm.
and how our worth and our heart, our
Mhm.
work and all of that
Yeah.
is tied to that number on the scale, which is why
Mhm.
it's just it's so hard to let
Mhm.
go of that, because then how are we going to know?
Yeah, exactly.
How are we going to know?
Probably you'll know when you put your
Um,
pants on.
Or you're just going to realize that you just have value, period. the,
Yes.
the number on the scale, the
Yes.
size of the pants
Yeah,
are
no.
completely unrelated to
I
your value.
do,
as a
I mean,
person.
those are the things that I have learned in all of this time, since we last talked about this. Those are the things that I've learned, that my value is not tied to what it says on the scale. My value is not tied to what pant size I wear, that if like I gain weight or lose weight or gain weight and go out and see people and I have gained weight, I don't feel like they're gonna, if there's judgment, that's on there.
Mhm.
Like that's like, I don't feel like that same shame. After all the time, I know.
Let's pause and throw both parties.
I know. So, I mean, that has been a big,
Yeah.
that's been a big impact.
Yeah.
To just know like, okay, well then get the pants that fit.
Yeah.
And then go out, and who cares what people think about your weight? Who cares what they think about your weight?
What they think about your weight is their business, not yours.
Yeah, yeah. If they think about it at all. Most people
Right.
are so like
Right.
wrapped up in their own problems
Right.
and wrapped up in what they look like.
Yeah.
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 They're not paying any attention to you.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a
And-
bad way, but just,
Yeah.
you know.
People think about us a lot less than we think they do.
Yes, that is true.
And tied to that as well is that when is a pound not a pound? It's like you can be a smaller size
Mhm.
and have more muscle and weigh much more than somebody who is a larger size and has less muscle. That's
Mhm.
it. And if you want to gain a pound right now, just go drink 2 cups of water. You can.
Yeah, seriously.
You
Yeah.
can, in a matter of minutes, step on the
Mhm.
scale, drink water, step on the scale. Oh, look, now you're a
Yeah.
pound heavier. Or this is why, when we are vomiting or we have diarrhea, we lose so much water
Mhm.
that, weight's gonna go down.
Yeah.
But then once you are able to keep something in your system,
Mhm.
it's gonna come right back. That's not real weight in
Mhm.
long-term talking.
Yeah.
And then practice compassion. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Just give ourselves grace. We did not learn all of this. We did not absorb all of this in a day or a week or a month or a year or even
Yeah.
a decade.
Like a lifetime.
Right. And
So
so
lifetime stuff.
when we see ourselves being so brilliant with recognizing our hunger and fullness cues, today, and tomorrow we completely don't even think about our hunger and fullness cues. We're just
Yeah.
eating from a different place.
Mhm.
It's not good. Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Yes.
Well, give yourself
Yeah,
grace.
absolutely.
So much
Because
grace.
this life is hard. Like, we really need to give ourselves grace all the time, like pats on the back all the time.
Yeah.
Self pats on the
Yeah.
back, or a friend, go get a pat on the back because we made it
Yeah.
through this day. Sometimes that's all you can do.
Mel Robbins talks about giving yourself a high five in the morning
Mhm.
in the mirror.
Oh, that's cute.
Literally high five the mirror every morning. So the first principle of intuitive eating is rejecting diet mentality.
Mhm.
Quick little summary of just let's recognize. So diet mentality kind of thinking is when it comes to eating and food. Do I deserve this food? If I eat heavy food, I try to find a way to make up for it. I feel guilty when I eat heavy foods. I usually describe a day of eating as either good or bad. I view food as the enemy, something to be controlled and overcome. Non-diet mentality when it comes to food is, am I hungry? Do I want it? Do I really want it?
Yeah, these are really, these are good questions.
Will I be deprived if I don't eat it?
Mhm.
That goes right back. Your story was so good.
Yeah.
Your Reese's peanut butter cereal story.
Yeah.
Will it be satisfying and not just satisfying on our tongues?
Yes.
And does it taste good? And I deserve to eat without guilt. When it comes to exercise and the benefits of exercise, diet mentality teaches us I focus primarily on the calories burned, and I feel guilty if I miss a designated exercise day, and that I do this to either get to the size I want to be or to control the size that I am. Non-diet mentality is I focus primarily on how to exercise that makes me feel good, especially the energizing and stress relieving factors of exercise. That's healthy attitude toward that. And progress is viewed in diet mentality. Progress is viewed through how many pounds did I lose? How do I look? What do other people think? And I have good willpower. And non-diet mentality is rather than being concerned with my weight, I trust that my body weight will normalize when I am attuned to my internal eating signals. My weight is not my primary goal or an indicator of my progress. I have increased trust with myself and with food. That is such a huge one. I am able to let go of eating indiscretions easily. And I recognize my inner body cues. So there we go. The first principle of intuitive eating is rejecting diet mentality. And that's not a hard sentence to say, but it takes.
Sorry about that. There's an alarm that's about to go off and say, go to a dinner, actually is what it's going to say.
Oh, well, there you go.
I know.
So anything else you want to add or?
No, I think I've said enough. I think I've said enough. Yeah. I guess maybe when I went in to say, maybe even just to you, no one else wants to hear it. I think I think I might not fully say how much I've learned in these past few months about intuitive eating, and that like my ability to say to myself, like, what a good choice. Like my ability to say to myself about eating, and not feel the same guilt that I've ever felt before. Like I really have internalized this. Now, does it still sound like a fairyland? Maybe it's like a lottery ticket to feel like that completely, but maybe you can get some lottery tickets that are 1 in 100 versus 1 in a million.
And that's where and again, intuitive eating is not you have arrived. It's a direction. It's a process of, I feel so much better now about how I'm able to handle this particular situation or that particular situation.
Yes.
And so it's like, yay.
Yeah.
Yay. And then what else, where else do I still see things that I'm not comfortable? I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with how stressed I feel when I think I've not eaten good. And so what do I want to do about that? Not, ugh, I'm so bad for having not eaten good,
Yeah.
but I don't like how I feel when I make that judgment on myself. So what can I do about this? And so it's this process, it's a direction to head, which I believe that ultimately it's like Dorothy in Kansas, that she goes on this whole long journey trying to find that place and when she and those things, and she ultimately realizes that it's home.
Yeah.
And that's really where it was. And so this is really, I think, a process of coming back to ourselves. And so who gets to say when we ever actually arrive?
Yeah.
It's just
We
a
probably
journey
don't
toward
arrive.
that.
Yeah, we don't arrive. That's the whole thing. There's not
Yeah.
like there's no beginning and end. There maybe isn't,
because we keep
right, because
changing.
we're all, and we're always
evolving
learning.
creatures.
It's evolving or learning. Yes.
Yeah. So
All right.
be good to yourself, nourish your body
Good.
and your soul.
High five in the morning.
High five in the morning.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Until next
See you
time.
later. Have a good week.
Hey, if you want to help us grow this podcast that we're having fun doing, like and subscribe.
And comment.
Oh, yes.
Please comment. We will comment back.
Yes, we will. Hey, it's Tracy. If this was helpful and you'd like more, follow me on Instagram at tlastel.nourishingbodyansoul, or on Facebook or YouTube at Nourishing Body and Soul, or you can find my website at nourishingbodysoul.com. Thanks for tuning in to Nourishing Body and Soul, the podcast. Before we wrap up, we just want to remind you that the information we share in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended for medical advice. While we hope you find our discussions helpful, we strongly recommend that you seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, exercise routine, or any other aspect of your health. We also want to make it clear that the host, guests, and producers of this podcast are not responsible for any adverse effects or consequences that may result from the use of any information or suggestion discussed in this podcast. We care about your well-being, but we can't take responsibility for individual outcomes. By listening to this podcast, you agree to indemnify and hold harmless the host, guests, and producers of this podcast from and against any and all claims, damages, liabilities, costs, and expenses arising from your use of the information provided in this podcast. We're so grateful for your support, and we hope you keep listening and learning with us. Thanks.